US and Russian officials have wrapped up day-long talks focused on the proposed partial ceasefire at sea between Kiev and Moscow. As the meeting was underway, a Russian missile strike damaged a school and a hospital in Ukraine's northeastern city of Sumy, wounding at least 88 people, including 17 children. The Ukrainian president deplored the attack, saying decisive actions are needed to force Moscow into peace. Russian officials left the US-led talks in the Saudi capital of Riyadh without commenting on the outcome of discussions. The Ukrainian delegation will reportedly return to the negotiating table tomorrow. So let's get more on these talks and negotiations with Dr Alex Titov, lecturer in modern European history at Queen's University in Belfast. Good to have you with us this evening there. Now, the talks in Saudi Arabia between the White House officials and the Kremlin, they focused on ending attacks on the Black Sea route. Might this be the first agreement, perhaps, that Moscow might actually agree to?
Yes, well, I think this is probably one of the easiest bits to agree on, and not that saying that this actually will happen, but certainly it's one of the kind of lowest hanging fruits, because essentially there was already a deal in the 2022 about allowing Ukrainian grain exports from Odessa through the Black Sea, and then it was abandoned in late 2022. So essentially, they're trying to resurrect something which already had during the war, and we'll see how it goes. So I think that's probably is one of the easier things to do, and I hope they will do it.
Yes, and I'm assuming this would be of some relief, at least to residents who live in the port cities of Ukraine, like Odessa.
Well, it will depend on the actual deal agreed, because essentially this is about safety of passage, of sea passage, and refraining from attacks on the port infrastructure. But of course, Odessa itself is a big industrial hub. It's a big transport hub. I don't think this would cover the whole of Odessa if it like it didn't the first time. So we will have to see. But certainly any agreement, any kind of easing of hostility, even if it's only partial, is certainly a good step forward.
Yes, and the US President Donald Trump, he is sort of transactional in his approach to foreign policy. So are these talks being viewed as more about business than a meaningful ceasefire?
Well, I think Trump comes with his own ideas, and he was talking, it would be a very easy thing to do. We will stop it in 24 hours. Now he says, well, maybe it's 6 weeks, then it's maybe a few months. I think you have realities on the ground, and you have United States approach. Once they talked, and I think they've been talking for 2.5 days just about this, and there's still no kind of clear agreement what's been agreed. And this is just really the easiest bit to discuss. I think once they got to more kind of problematic areas, even Trump will see that it won't be that easy to actually agree anything substantial between them. Trump certainly has power, particularly over Ukraine, because Ukraine depends on financial support and on weapons support. It has less kind of influence over Russia, so there could be a kind of a big problem in that sense, balance of negotiations.
Yes, and of course, before those talks with Russia, US officials did meet with their Ukrainian counterparts. What was the outcome of those talks, and this coming against the backdrop of them having another round of talks either today or tomorrow?
Well, what they're doing, basically, Russians and Ukrainians are not talking directly to each other. So what you have Americans talking to Ukrainians first in one room, then going into the next room talking to the Russians, and then coming back after having talked to the Russians to the Ukrainians. So it's all very prolonged and kind of cumbersome process, to be honest. Obviously, the previous talk, that was something quite similar. They were talking to Turkey, they were talking United Nations separately, and then agreeing a deal. So there are now Americans involved in the same way. We don't know details yet, and there's been reports that there was supposed to be a joint statement, but that's been scrapped now. Apparently because of Ukrainian objections, Russians saying we don't know the details yet. It's a very early days. It's a very this is just a test of a very simple thing. And I don't think even that will be simple, to be honest,
yes.
as details will emerge.
Yes, you did say at the start of the interview that perhaps this Black Sea deal might be the easiest of the ceasefire deals to be worked out between Kiev and Moscow. But do you think Ukrainians are confident that Vladimir Putin would respect that ceasefire in the future?
Well, if they agree to something, so Russians are very hard negotiators in terms of they have a very long experience of negotiations from Soviet times onwards. If they agree to a deal with their conditions built into it, they will stick with it. There's good chances of doing that, but it's a matter of whether it'd be acceptable for Ukraine to have those conditions built in them. So it's a long diplomatic game. I think once they sign, they will stick to it as long as it's possible, because they did stick with the previous one and then they abandoned it officially, and then which actually didn't work for Russia. Ukraine was managed to resume supply shipping in territorial waters, so it was of neighboring countries, so that wasn't such a big blow to Ukraine. But certainly, it's good for everybody to have more security on the seas, for insurance companies, for trading companies, and so forth, rather than having to hide from Russian or Ukrainian attacks in various territorial waters.
Alex, there is a near parallel effort to end the war, isn't it, by way of Europe, who Trump shows almost zero interest in engaging with. What's been happening on the European front?
Well, Europeans have been in complete disarray, I'm afraid, because essentially they have one idea about this war, that it has to be won by Ukraine. Their mantra has always been that before any negotiation starts, we need to put Ukraine in the strongest possible position. Well, Ukraine, since 2023, after its failed counteroffensive, has been in an increasingly weaker position. So once this change in administration, Trump is not politically bound to the Ukrainian cause the way Biden was. Trump ran on anti-war protest. He doesn't want to spend any more money. It's not his war. Europeans are basically stuck that the biggest ally suddenly changed his mind, and they're just really scrambling with frankly completely fanciful ideas of kind of sending troops to Ukraine, even when Russia is saying there's absolutely no conditions it will accept any NATO troops in Ukraine. You would need, unless you want to go straight into war with Russia, you would need a Russian agreement to that. So they're really having this endless meetings and summits in Europe, discussing things which simply is not going to happen, meaning British and French troops in Ukraine. So yeah, just shows their lack of really clarity of what they can do and what their role will be.
Yes, and just finally, Doctor, as Europe heads towards summer, it does bring easier conditions, particularly for land-based forces. So are Ukrainian troops preparing for a possible upsurge in military activity, particularly on the contested front lines?
Well, I think they're already having it now. So Ukraine, one of the reasons why they front in Kursk collapsed a couple of weeks ago was because they already transferred out of it all its kind of best troops to Donbass, and they started a series of tactical offenses in Donbass. So it's ongoing now. They have very limited successes there at the expense of losing on the ground in Kursk. Ground in Kursk, but I think both sides will be gearing up for major activities in the summer. Russia, in particular, will be looking to kind of solidify its gains and advance even further, because it very much looks forward that whatever is the front line is, say, come September, October, this might be the actual line for years and years to come.
Okay, Dr. Alexander Titov, really appreciate your analysis. Thank you so much.
Thank you.